Hello friends, I am so honored to be back here talking with you about the world of Lightlark. Here we have the plot recap of the Grimm and the Oro. They call them novellas, they're like 250, 260 page books into one bind-up. I'm gonna give you my real quick, spoiler-free rundown of this set and how I feel about it for those who might be a little bit curious but don't want the plot just yet. But once I tell you my spoiler free, then we'll get into the plot of each one. I'm gonna say this isn't worth the money. It's not worth purchasing. If you are a huge Lightlark fan, go for it. Chase your bliss. Enjoy whatever you can get. But if you're not collecting the series, I'm collecting the special collector's editions, if you're not that into the series, if it's not meaningful or special to you, I would say skip this. And I wouldn't even recommend getting the audiobooks from your library because I don't think the production was very good. I think the narrators are fine, but especially I remember Grimm's narrator. He pauses in the middle of sentences at the weirdest place, and it drove me insane. It drove me crazy. So I don't necessarily recommend the audiobooks either. So pick it up from your library. I don't feel like you are going to get enough out of these stories. I think if you've already read Lightlark and Nightbane, you don't really need it unless you really, really love to read just too many pages about a man simping over a woman. If that's your thing, look no further. Enjoy your book. But it's not my favorite thing. I think that this was a bit of a cash grab. The whole promotion and marketing of this, I think, was a little bit of bollocks. I think Alex Astor telling us that, we're gonna read this and we're gonna switch teams because it's so compelling and you're gonna love them so much that's gonna really make you see them in a different light and you're gonna switch teams. Let's be clear. I am Team Grimm. I love a shadow daddy. I love a man who's dark and brooding and also is going to buy me chocolates. Oro, even after reading this and getting to know his backstory, it didn't change anything for me. He still feels like an old man. He is that classic golden retriever, nice guy. If you're into that, it makes sense you're on Team Oro, whereas Team Grimm is for the girls who have, questionable morals when it comes to dating men. What can I say? However you feel, this would make more sense to show you. However you feel about either of these men, I don't think it's going to be impacted by this book. I did not really change my opinions that much. It's, you're not really gaining that much. So, now, let's get into the spoilers, shall we? We're gonna start with Oro. This set follows Oro in Lightlark Book 1, and then it follows Grimm in Nightbane. So, for your timeline purposes, you're gonna want to read it as Oro and then Grimm. Oro's book is 266 pages. It is longer than Grimm's, and I think by the end I gave it a 3-star. So let's start with chapter 1, Oro, the powerful spare with daddy issues. We start with Oro pretty young, and we know that Oro has been gifted with the flair ability of turning things into gold by touch. So of course, his father loves this about him, and therefore makes him the trophy son in a way, simply because he can turn thieves into gold for punishment instead of just outright killing them. He can turn them into gold. And so Oro is seen as valuable for that purpose, but again, he is the spare. He's the second son, second heir. He's a dutiful son. He likes the rules. He likes the system. He has good relationships with his mother and brother, but not so much with his father, because his father doesn't show him love so much as has expectations that he doesn't want to do. So once we get a little snippet, a little taste of the dynamic, specifically and especially with his father, we speed run a training montage. The next 50 pages is Oro making friends. So first we get to see Enya, who is his childhood best friend. Their moms are best friends with each other, so they just kind of were grouped together as kids and have been best friends ever since, and she's been by his side through everything. And then the next chapter after that, we get to meet Calder, who is a moonling. They are on those people who go hike mountains just for funsies, and it's snowy in winter and they have to camp out, and couldn't be me. But they're doing that, but for training purposes. Oro's trying to master the different things. So he's going to the different isles to learn their abilities or something. And so we meet Calder, who's a moonling, as they're paired on this little retreat together. And Calder has a lot more experience and knowledge. And so he's kind of the reason Oro survives the snowy mountainscape. And they become besties. And then there's a moment where Oro is in the prison cells because he's going against his father's will. And we meet Zed, who is a Skyling, who's able to fly into the jail cell and send messages and bring sweets and food and whatever. And so they then become friends. That's your first 50 pages. I found it incredibly underwhelming. I never once questioned why these people were friends. It never appealed to me wanting their backstory. I didn't feel that it was that fulfilling. I'm sorry. But that's your first 50 pages. Is just him making friends. The friendship I do care about, though, and what makes the backstory a little bit worth it, is we get an insight to Grimm and Oro's friendship before everything happens. We are going into Lightlark at war with the Nightshades. Grimm's dad has declared war, and Oro's father is like heading the charge. Keep in mind, this is when they were young adults, so this is 20-something Grimm and Oro, not 500-year-old Grimm and Oro that we know in the Lightlark series. And another thing I need to remind you about, with Or, he has another secret flair that nobody knows about. He can taste lies, which I found incredibly annoying at times because there were moments where Grimm especially would say something, and half the time Oro's like, I know when he's lying, he means that, I can taste it. And other times Grimm would say something and Oro would turn around and be like, I wonder if he meant that. Stay consistent. My only big complaint. Anyway, Grimm and Oro have been kind of going back and forth, like enemies, but not enemies because they like relate to each other. Grimm got imprisoned by Oro and everybody, kind of voluntarily. Grimm and Oro have been kind of building a little bit of a rapport in the jail cells, getting to know each other, but also like hating each other. It's a very enemies to lovers situation. Grimm is constantly reminding Oro of how similar they are, and they can really relate to each other on like a personal daddy issues level. So they start very slowly building a friendship. Also, alongside them slowly becoming friends, we get to see a little bit of the backstory of Aurora and Oro's brother, Egan, because Egan is kind of the whole reason why everything bad happened. He's kind of like responsible for the curse, even though like it was technically Aurora's fault. But basically, they were arranged marriage. They're going to be married. Aurora is obsessed with Egan. She loves him so much. She's been wanting this her whole life. She's a starling. He's king of Lightlark, but also a sunling. But what does Egan go and do? He goes and falls in love with the wildling, right? And Aurora gets insanely jealous. And so I liked seeing the little snippets of like Egan doing things behind her back and like a little bit of sneaky, but you don't see enough of it that I feel that it's really impacting anything. But as a fan of the Lightlark world, like having that little tasty lore of like seeing how it goes down was at least a little bit intriguing. But anyways, 10-year time jump. Grimm's been out of prison for a while. He has kind of made acquaintances with everybody. Oro's friend group is like still pretty anti-Grimm, but as we know, Oro relates to him in a lot of ways, so he's kind of like, nah, we're cool, it's fine. And once like Grimm and Oro decide definitively, yes, we are friends, the curse happens. The curse begins and Oro's family dies. Like, obviously all of the parents die, and then on top of that, I don't remember why the brother died. Yeah, I don't remember how Egan dies, but I remember that Egan decided to step down so that he could go be with his true love Violet. So Oro was going to be king either way. But then the curse happened, and all the parents died. All of them. Wiped out completely. Curse begun. Everyone's dead. And so Oro, pissed, is like, you killed my parents. And Grimm's like, hey, I understand that, like, technically Nightshades deal in curses, but, like, it wasn't actually me, but I can't do anything to get through your thick skull, so, like, I'm just gonna bounce. And Grimm flees, and that's, like, the end of their friendship. And then for 500 years, you get the Centennial. You get the heirs trying to work this out, but it never going anywhere. So then we have the 500-year time jump, which is so stupid. 100 pages into this book, we get 500 years into the future. So, to remind you, first 50 pages, daddy issues and making friends. The next 50 pages, Grimm and Oro having conversations and slowly sort of becoming friends. Next 166 pages, Lightlark retold by Oro's perspective. This is where, like, this book really lost me. We just speed run Lightlark all over again. Like, I've already read the book twice. I know what happens in that book. I've given you a whole plot recap of the book Lightlark. Like, I know it. I still have my script. I know what happens in that book. I know how Oro feels in that book because although he's not explicitly saying it and we're in Isla's perspective, I know how he feels. I know what's going through his little simp mind. And the only, like, takeaway that I got was, yep, Oro did do the betrayal, and it's exactly how we thought. And only other thing that I really learned is Cleo is, like, much older than 500. That's all I got. And that's, I kid you not, that's Oro. That's the plot of Oro. This is going to probably be the shortest Lightlark video I've ever done in history because I don't need to recount to you Lightlark. You know it. If you're interested in what happens in it, just read it from the perspective we should know it. I don't feel like this added anything to the game because we knew he was obsessed with her from the beginning. We saw that his friends don't like her or don't trust her, but also he saves her a bunch. We see them go on this scavenger hunt. I don't understand what the point, like, obviously I know the point. The point was a cash grab with the marketing because obviously the publisher was like, hey, you're almost done with the series, there's one book left, what if we do something crazy? I don't love this for us. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think recounting 166 pages of Lightlark was that enjoyable. Maybe if you are a big Grimm and Oro fan, like bigger stans than I am, maybe seeing their perspective is interesting. But I don't feel like it does enough. I don't feel like we learned new secrets from Lightlark, or I wish it was more historical than anything. Like, I wish we got more of the past, like seeing more of the curse happening, seeing more of the repercussions of the world around them, not just them directly being influenced by things. Like, I just wish there was more to this, you know? Anyway, now we can jump into Grimm, which is shorter. It's 225 pages. To recap, basically Nightbane. We don't see the Grimm and Oro friendship being built from Grimm's perspective. That's kind of skipped over, but we'll start from the beginning. Chapter 1, we meet with Grimm. He's a young boy of 7. He's training with his so many brothers and sisters, which we do know about him. But the one that is important throughout his saga is his older sister, Layla. She's 8 at the point when we meet her, and she's, like, gonna be the heir. Everybody kind of knows, but the whole practice of nightshades, they breed like rabbits, have a bunch of heirs, and then throw them into an arena. Like, train them, teach them, make them ruthless killers almost, and then send them into an arena so that they all kill each other, and whoever wins becomes the next heir. That ain't gonna be traumatic or anything. Anywho, we see Layla, who does in her own way care for Grimm, but also knowing that she's gonna kill him someday. Like, it's a complex dynamic. And she has the flair that she can turn into a killer bat. And we know at this point that Grimm is having a lot of issues with honing in his magic and powers. Important for later. Hence why everyone thought he was gonna be dead. Anyways, I do think that Grimm's background of, like, this traumatic, like, oh, your siblings have to fight to the death to become heir, is a bit more interesting than, oh, I'm privileged and spoiled, and the only issues that I have is, like, my dad wants me to turn thieves into gold. It's like, yeah, that sucks, but, like, that's not a backstory. That's just privileged life. I don't know. It doesn't compel me the same way. Anyways, moving on. Grimm gets punished all the time, especially because Layla always wants to go do things with him, and he's like, yeah, sure, anything for you, big sis, and then she dips like a bat and he gets caught because he can't do that. And so he's always being punished in very torturous ways. And that's when he learns, after a big torture session, that he has the portal flare, which we know from the book series that this is the catalyst of, like, his siblings all being slaughtered. So, he's gonna try and keep this a secret the best that he can. He's like, nobody can know that I can portal. That's, like, unheard of. It hasn't happened in 500 years. Like, we're not doing that. The only time that Grimm uses his portal flare is so that he can go steal candy from the candy store, but other than that, at a very young age, he understands, like, he has to keep this a secret so that Layla can become the heir and win the gauntlet. Then we get the 5-year time jump. And Grimm decides the night before the gauntlet that he's like, peace, I'm just gonna, like, run away. He flees to Lightlark, stays there because he didn't want to, like, deal with everything. But unfortunately, when he comes back, his father had found out that he has Cronin's flare, the ancient portal ability, which means, like, you know, he's strong and powerful to some degree. Like, it's meaningful to his dad. And so when he comes back, most of his siblings were poisoned and the others were killed by their father. So when he comes back, it's just him and Layla who have to fight. And Layla, being, like, trained ruthless killer, turns into a bat and goes in for the killing blow. Grimm, his powers manifest in a way to protect him. You know how, like, your body's natural instinct is just survive. So he throws out these, like, shadow knives, killing his sister, which, you know, stacks a lot of guilt when you're 12 years old and everybody's blood is on your hands, even if it's not, like, directly your fault. He does still kill his favorite sibling who actually cared for him and feels incredibly betrayed by the fact that he did kill her. So Grimm has, like, this full 180 flip where he's now like, I gotta make their deaths worth something. So he's yearning for power, wants his father's approval, like, wants to do the best for the kingdom, actually cares a lot for his people. But now we jump 20 years later. I guess, he'd be 32 now, or he's 22. I don't remember the timeline super well. It doesn't make the most sense. Anyways, I think he's 22 when, maybe 32. I don't know. Time's an illusion. They're 500 years old again. Doesn't matter. The war on Lightlark has been happening for 5 years now. Grimm is doing everything to keep his father alive and protected. And so he's the one who's fighting at the front. He's the one who's going up against Oro. He's the one who's doing a lot of the killings. Similar to Oro, they're both killing on either side. They're both bad in that way. Grimm's whole purpose of keeping his dad alive is that he does not want to become the heir. He doesn't want to rule the people. He kind of likes having some freedom, likes being more of, like, the puppet that just kind of does things on the low and doesn't have to control everything. So he's like, Father, you must stay alive. Which was cool until we learn a little bit more about the island. There's this island off of Nightshade where there's like this diamond, and if you try and touch the diamond, you get cursed. Well, Grimm's father is cursed. So he's kind of dying anyway, and this is what makes him think of the idea of Grimm going to surrender to Lightlark so that he can have like an inside spy. And from that point of like his father being like, you'll go surrender, you'll be the spy, you'll learn how to take Lightlark down from the inside, we totally speedrun their friendship. So if you read Grimm first, you're gonna miss all of the like mission bonding moments between Grimm and Oro. So you do have to read Oro first and then Grimm for that reason, because I think it'll make more sense that way. But in that period, that's when they become friends for a time being, and then the curse happens and Grimm goes back to his father and like back to Nightshade after the curse. But now we're jumping 499 years into the future. This is the basically whole book of Nightshade now. We are 37 pages in. Everything I've explained to you thus far has been 37 pages. Cool. Let's talk about Nightbane, shall we? I am more of a Grimm girl, as we know. So I am going to talk a little bit about the things that I liked. So sorry to the Oro people. I feel like I've really done you dirty. So the first thing that we get is the first meeting of Isla and Grimm, when Isla uses her portal stick and accidentally ends up in the lineup of women that Grimm is choosing to sleep with, to bed with. And that's when he picks Isla. And that's kind of the love at first sight. Like, you get his perspective, and he's already down bad so fast. Like, the insta-lust was ridiculous. They kiss. It's sexy. You've already seen it, though. But I will say that it was very fun to see his reaction of getting stabbed. It makes me chuckle every time. It's a funny scene to me. But I will mention that whilst reading this, it really does feel like Grimm is going to be on top. I'm so intrigued, because she has stated time and time again, one of them will die. And I just feel, because of the sexual history, the sexual chemistry, the smut that you get in the second half, which makes it feel not super young adult, a lot more prevalent here, where this is just like cute, smitten, young adult romance, where this gets a little bit more new adult. Like, what do we think Alex Astor is trying to say? Do we think that she's saying a nice man is better, or is she saying like sexual chemistry and history, like a year's worth of dating, which is supposed to be better? Like, I'm just really intrigued to see like what her perspective and mindset is going to be on like who she thinks is the better choice and why. Like, I understand from morale perspective, Oro could be the better choice, but like he also killed a lot of people in the war, so like he's not some golden pedestal. So I don't know. It's intriguing. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Anyways, we have some moments of Grimm basically becoming Edward Cullen and just like low-key stalking Isla to like watch her because he's smitten. We also get to see like the way Grimm figures out that Isla's dad was his old general, and just from him watching her, seeing the whole history play out, like he knows a lot and he figures it out himself. It's not like people are telling him. He's finding out a lot of information just from putting puzzle pieces together. All of the Lightlark books are a little bit convenient. You just gotta take it at face value, but he does figure things out. He's like, oh, she's immune to curses because he was immune to curses. Ah, it all makes sense. My portal stick that he had, she has. Aha. It all makes sense. It tracks. As somebody who likes Grimm, I do like the small moments of him, like, thinking about her a lot and dreaming about her, so on and so forth. But, like, it does get a little bit stale because you're like, sure. The plot is what we've already seen in Nightbane, so, like, him just being smitten with her isn't, like, the most compelling of a read. There's not a lot of, like, actual new information. But I do like the moments where he's, like, watching her dance alone in her room because he's all invisible and Edward Cullening. But I also like the moment where like she's standing in the mirror and he like stands behind her because he's like, oh, we look so good together. There's just like small little things that I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I do love them. But it's not plot. There's nothing happening, which I don't think that the snippets of their romance is that different from what we see in Nightbane. But I do appreciate seeing like the history of their year-long relationship. Like, they were together for a year basically leading up to the centennial. And I like seeing those moments of like why they like each other, how they bonded. Don't feel like the bonding with Oro and Isla really hits the same way for me. And I think that's part of the reason why I enjoy Grimm, among a few other like many reasons. But I do like that we get to see the development of a relationship, and it's not forced proximity for a scavenger hunt that we have to see them like get along. And I think it's like obvious from the way that I'm reviewing these plots that I'm more annoyed with being retold Lightlark than I am Nightbane. But both is annoying. Both is like, why are we doing this? Either way, it's not necessary to anybody. I think that it's nice to see the similarities between Isla and Grimm and like why they like each other. Like, I intrinsically understand their relationship, whereas where I struggle with that perspective when it comes to Oro, because I'm like, I don't get it. Oro just doesn't feel like a young, real character to me, and the same way Grimm does. I like seeing a crush build up. I like seeing these small little moments between the two characters, and I think the only reason I gave Grimm 4 stars is just because I like him more. I like his character more. I like the background more. I like the romance more, but it's not a good book. It's not a full story. There's nothing happening. Like, again, you're only getting 37 pages of a backstory for him, and then you're getting the rest of the book that you already know. The same plot is happening. They're still looking for the sword. They're trying to figure out a way to close the scar. Like, it's all the same plot. So that is the Grimm and Oro plot. Unfortunately, like, there's not a lot of substance to it. I do think, from, like, an art standpoint, I think the artist does an absolutely incredible job at this work. I have zero complaints with how the book itself looks, which is also probably the only reason why I don't mind having this on my shelves. Why I don't mind, one, like, from a review standpoint, like, I can talk about it with you guys because we over here are fans of the Lightlark series and we're having fun talking about it. But to have as a trophy on my shelf, to have on my shelf as a piece of artwork, worth the money. But as, like, a substantial story of lore and history and, like, plot, I don't feel it's necessary. Like, we're about to go into Crowntide together, which is when we are getting their perspectives for the first time in the books. We're gonna get all 3 perspectives as they go on this, like, larger quest. Isla is missing. She's been yeeted out into the ether, basically, and Grimm and Oro have to team up to go and save her. And I think that's gonna be super fun. If they end up in a poly thing and one of them has to die, oh my god, top tier. I know it's not gonna happen, but imagine, like, they've got history. Enemies to friends to enemies to lovers. It could be hot. Anywho, I know that's not gonna happen, but it would be more age appropriate. Anyway. My theories aren't going to stick to the wall whatsoever, but I just don't think that this was worth what it was pitched as. I don't think that you're getting enough backstory to make it worth anything. I don't think she's written anything that's going to make you switch teams like it's been promoted as. I just don't feel like it did enough to change the series that we already know. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this and what you guys think. I know this is definitely shorter compared to, like, the hour-long plot recaps that I'm going to give. I have Crowntide sitting over there. If you saw my February TBR by chance, I'm planning to read it, so I'm hoping, let me look at my schedule. Crowntide recap, I have planned March 10th. We'll see if that happens, but that is currently the plan. That's what's on the schedule. So I'm going to read Crowntide in February. I'll probably film it in February as well and just, like, have it ready to go so that it's fresh on my noggin. But yeah, I am overall disappointed with this set. I don't think it was worth it. I don't think people really need it, but again, you've got my opinions on it. I would love to hear what your opinions are down below about it, and if you felt that it was necessary or you feel like you switched teams or learned something that made it worth it. I'm just, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed, a little frustrated with it, but either way, I'm glad to have the artwork. It is stunning. There's nothing more that I have to say, really. So if you made it to the end of the video, let me know. If you, if you made it to the end of the video, put a moon in the comments if you're Team Grimm. Put a sun in the comments if you're Team Oro, and if you're Team Isla and you don't like either of these men, leave a rose down in the comments. I would love to know where you stand with these people, especially going into Crowntide and eventually the 5th and final book, where one of them will die. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see the drama, the mess unfold in this next book now that they're all, like, together. Everything's out on the table. No more real secrets. Like, they're all on the same playing field, I think. So I'm really excited to see what Crowntide has in store for us. But with that all said, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this one. It was definitely an interesting read, interesting recap, but fun nonetheless. I love talking Lightlark with you guys. So thanks for hanging out, and I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Bye!